Welcome to a deep dive into, well, humanity's most ambitious dream, colonizing Mars. We've looked at some fascinating sources that lay out not just the boundless hope, but also the very real costs and challenges. Our mission today, to give you a shortcut, really, to understanding the complexities,
Yeah,
getting to Mars, staying alive there, and, can we actually make it our second home?
Exactly. We'll be digging into everything from the economics of just getting off Earth to the air we'd breathe and what past efforts here on Earth can teach us. It's a huge undertaking. Where should we start? Maybe just the trip itself?
Yeah, that seems like the first big hurdle, doesn't it? How do we even get there, and what's it really going to cost? Because our sources show this interesting contrast between the big promises and the tough realities of space travel.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen some incredible claims like Falcon 9 reducing launch costs from $60 million down to maybe $60,000 by being reusable like 1,000 times.
1,000 times. I mean, that sounds revolutionary, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost too good to be true. What's the catch based on what we've seen?
Well, it's interesting when you compare it to, say, NASA's space shuttle program. That was designed for 100 reuses.
Okay, 100. Still a lot.
Right. But what actually happened, after the first few years, the costs per launch actually started to increase.
Increase, why?
Fewer launches, the fleet got older, and then after the Columbia accident in 2003, things got even tougher. Every launch needed a second shuttle ready for rescue.
Wow, okay.
So single launch cost ballooned to over $500 million. Way more than, say, the European Space Agency rockets at the time, which were around $100 million.
Oof. That really puts a dent in the reusability automatically means cheap idea, doesn't it?
It certainly raises questions about the long-term economics. It's not just the sticker price of the rocket, it's the operations, the safety, the maintenance over years and years.
Okay, so getting there is expensive, maybe more than we hope. But our sources also talk about a smarter way to travel this home in orbit thing. Sounds kind of counterintuitive, not a straight line.
Precisely. Going direct, Earth to Mars, shortest distance, right?
Yeah.
About half an astronomical unit at its closest.
Yeah, it sounds faster.
But it takes a huge amount of energy, too much fuel. The home in orbit, though, it's a longer path, maybe 4 astronomical units.
Longer path, less fuel. How does that work?
It's all about efficiency. You use gravity, you coast more. You only need 2 main speed boosts. One big push leaving Earth orbit, about 2.4 kilometers per second,
Okay.
and another 2.5 kilometers per second to ease into Mars orbit. Much less energy overall.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah.
Using physics to your advantage. And how long does this smarter, longer trip take?
It's about an 8.5-month journey.
8.5 months. Wow. And you can't just go whenever you feel like it either.
Nope. There's a launch window. It only opens up every 26 months or so. That's when Earth, Mars, and the Sun are lined up just right at a 44.1-degree angle.
It's that window, and you're waiting over 2 years.
Adds another layer of complexity.
So this brings us to the grand vision. Our sources mention Elon Musk's plans quite a bit. What's the scale we're talking about here? It sounds massive.
Oh, it's incredibly ambitious. We're talking transporting thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people per trip.
That trip, how?
The idea is maybe dozens, even hundreds of these large Mars colonizer spacecraft launching together during those windows
Wow, and the goal.
to establish a self-sufficient community. Not just a science base, but a real settlement within maybe 20 years.
20 years, that's fast. And what about the ticket price for someone, wanting to go?
Initially, the projection is steep, maybe $500,000 for a one-way ticket.
$500,000, okay.
But the hope is to bring that down later, maybe to around $100,000, make it more accessible.
Still a lot, but more conceivable for some.
Right. And Musk predicts tens of thousands of people heading to Mars every year by 2050, turning it into a huge multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
And I guess the belief he can do it comes from, well, look at Tesla and electric cars.
Yeah.
People say he accelerated that by decades.
That's the connection people make, yeah. Applying that disruptive approach to space colonization.
Okay, so let's say we manage the trip, the cost, the scale.
Yeah.
We arrive. Thousands of people. Now what? Survival. That's the next colossal challenge. Water, air, food, the absolute basics.
Absolutely critical. And let's start with water. That's fundamental. A big moment was back in 2008, the Phoenix probe.
Right, I remember that. What did it find?
It found water ice, basically, about 1% water content in the surface soil it sampled. And this was in an area they thought would be pretty dry.
Only 1%. Doesn't sound like much.
Well, wait. Over the next 10 years, other missions sampled different spots, and the water content varied from that 1% up to, get this, 60% in some samples.
60%. Okay, that's a game changer. So the water's there, it's just frozen or locked up.
Exactly. Mostly as water ice or bound in minerals, hydrated molecules.
So how do you get it out? Can you just, like, melt it?
Essentially, yeah, you can extract it by heating the soil, baking it, basically. The water turns to vapor, you collect it, condense it.
Needs energy, though.
It does, but solar power is pretty viable on Mars. Long days, so it seems feasible. Plus, there's the possibility, still unconfirmed, of liquid water deeper down.
Underground lakes, maybe.
Potentially, and even the atmosphere, thin as it is, only 1% of Earth's density, has a surprising amount of water vapor you could potentially pull out.
Okay, so water seems manageable with the right tech. What about air? We can't bring that with us.
Right. Well, the water helps there too. You can use electrolysis, zap the water with electricity,
And split it into
oxygen, which we need to breathe, and hydrogen,
hydrogen,
useful for.
rocket fuel.
Yeah. So you could potentially make fuel for the return trip right there on Mars using local water. It's called in situ resource utilization, ISRU.
Making your own fuel on Mars. Wow, okay. What other ways to get oxygen?
The atmosphere itself, it's thin, but it's about 95% carbon dioxide, CO2, rich in oxygen atoms.
Can we break that down?
That's the plan.
NASA's rover, the one launched in 2020, carried an instrument called AMOXY.
Yeah. Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment. Its job was literally to suck in Martian air and convert the CO2 into oxygen and carbon monoxide.
Did it work?
It did. Successfully produced about 15 liters of oxygen per hour in tests.
15 liters an hour. How much is that, really?
Enough for maybe one person for a short time. But the plan is, if it proves reliable, scale it up, like 100 times bigger. That could provide enough oxygen for maybe 10 people continuously.
Making our own air from Martian air? That's incredible. Truly groundbreaking stuff. Okay, water, check. Air, check. Food. What are the Martians eating?
Well, initially, think vegetarian. Very vegetarian.
No Martian burgers.
Probably not for a while. Raising livestock, pigs, cows, sheep takes a ton of resources.
Yeah.
Water, feed, space, atmosphere control. It's incredibly inefficient compared to plants.
Right, so plants, but we can't bring fully grown plants or even much food, right? Weight limits.
Exactly. Every kilogram counts on that trip. So you bring seeds. Lots and lots of seeds.
But can seeds even grow there? Martian soil isn't exactly Iowa farmland, and the gravity's lower, more radiation.
That's the big question, isn't it? But the results from experiments are surprisingly positive.
Oh yeah, what kind of experiments?
Well, the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and NASA did one. They simulated Mars-like soil, even simulated zero gravity for 50 days, which is tougher than Mars's 40% Earth gravity.
Yeah.
Every single seed they tried germinated. And most of the plants grew pretty well.
Wow, even in zero G.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the fact that Mars has some gravity, 40%, suggests cultivation in controlled environments, like greenhouses, should be quite feasible. Maybe Martian salads are on the menu sooner than we think.
Okay, so survival seems possible. A lot of ingenuity, water, air, food. But then there's the really big dream, terraforming, making Mars more like Earth. Our sources talk about some wild ideas for that.
They really do. I mean, we can't move Mars closer to the sun, obviously. Its distance is fixed.
Right, so it's naturally colder.
Much colder. But you could try to increase the sunlight it receives or traps. One idea. A giant mirror in space.
A giant mirror. How big?
Like 250 kilometers across. Huge. Stationed in orbit to reflect extra sunlight down onto Mars.
What would that do?
If you focused it on, say, the South Pole, calculations suggest it could raise the temperature there by 10 degrees Celsius. Maybe enough to melt ice, create rivers eventually.
Create rivers on Mars. Mind-blowing. Any other ideas?
Another approach is biological. Introduce certain kinds of anaerobic bacteria, ones that don't need oxygen to the Martian soil or atmosphere.
And what would they do?
They could potentially produce greenhouse gases like methane, trap more of the sun's heat, gradually warming the whole planet over a long time.
Centuries, maybe.
Centuries, millennia, probably. These are definitely long-term, maybe even generational projects. But it's fascinating stuff, like sci-fi made real.
It really is. But this is where our sources throw in a pretty major reality check, right? Something called Biosphere 2.
Yes. Biosphere 2. This is critical context, I think. So, Earth is Biosphere 1, our natural functioning planet.
Okay.
Back in 1987, scientists tried to build a miniature, self-contained version, Biosphere 2. Huge structure, like 2 football fields, 8 stories high. Sealed off completely from outside matter, though energy, like sunlight, could get in.
What was the goal?
Mm.
To see if we could build a working ecosystem from scratch.
Pretty much. They meticulously planned it. Put in about 1,000 species of microbes, over 3,000 types of plants, animals, insects, all carefully chosen. The idea was it would support a small group of people living inside.
Humans living inside this giant terrarium. Did it work?
The first crew, 8 people, lived inside for 2 years. They managed, kind of. Oxygen levels did slowly decline, but not dangerously low. They kept a sort of balance.
Okay, sounds promising. Ish.
Ish is right. Because the second mission, that one, faced catastrophic failure. 7 scientists went in for 10 months. The whole system went haywire. Oxygen and carbon balance just collapsed. Turns out, microbes in the soil started multiplying like crazy.
Okay, consuming oxygen.
Consuming way too much oxygen. And the carbon dioxide they produced, it didn't get cycled back by the plants properly. Instead, a lot of it got absorbed by the concrete structure itself.
Oh, walls were sucking up the CO2.
Effectively, yeah. Taking it out of the atmospheric loop, the whole ecosystem just started to break down. Biodiversity plummeted. It quickly became uninhabitable for humans.
Wow. So despite all the planning, all the science, it just failed.
Completely failed in its goal of being a long-term, stable, human-supporting environment. It was a massive, expensive lesson.
So connecting this back to Mars, what does the failure of Biosphere 2 tell us about the dream of terraforming an entire planet?
It's a really profound warning, isn't it? It suggests that even if we could introduce life, pump gases, warm Mars up, create a biosphere, the chances of that biosphere being stable and suitable specifically for us, for human life as we know it, it might be very, very small.
We might make Mars livable for something, but not necessarily for humans.
Exactly. We could end up creating a living planet, yes, but maybe one dominated by weird microbes or algae with an atmosphere toxic to us. The complexity of Earth's ecosystem, the delicate balance that supports us. Biosphere 2 showed just how incredibly hard, but maybe impossible with our current understanding it is to replicate that intentionally.
What an incredible journey we've taken just now. From the nuts and bolts of getting to Mars, the cost, the long trips.
To the really clever ideas for making water, air, even growing food there using Martian resources.
And then these huge, ambitious dreams of mirrors and microbes to warm the whole planet up.
But then grounded by that sobering reality check from Biosphere 2, that stark reminder of how complex life support systems truly are, and how little we might actually control when we try to build one from scratch.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If we struggled so much, failed really, to create a tiny, contained, working ecosystem right here on Earth, with all our resources and direct control, what does that really say about our chances of successfully engineering an entire planet billions of miles away to perfectly suit human needs?
Is the biggest challenge not the engineering or the travel or even the resources, but mastering the intricate, maybe unpredictable dance of life itself?
Something to definitely ponder next time you look up at that reddish point of light in the night sky.